We understand an upside-down world. But they're writing us off before we get to the starting line. A stalled generation? Who do you think is gonna fix all this? We will, because our future is the future. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny.
Because my key for playoffs is always win the first game and then win the second.
And then win the third game and then win the fourth
And then
game.
win again.
And then win again. All right.
And you get a trophy.
What's happening, sports fans? We welcome you to what is most, we've already done mediocrely produced, and thank you, as always, to the California Army National Guard for their sponsorship of this
Glorious show.
Yeah, the show for glorious comrades that are here to talk about San Marcos baseball and 13 seeds and the fact that traditional media wants to expunge us from existence, and yet here we are calling everything accurately because, as we have said for several years, we largely degaff about everything until spring, and then we get here and it's like, oh, look, we're a baseball show. We know baseball. We talk about baseball. I'm Christian Pedersen. Joining me, as always, in studio on the left is Bodie De Silva from SB Live Sports, the official digital content provider of all things CIF San Diego. They are the providers of all things everywhere, but we really only care about the CIF San Diego section part. On the other half of the couch is Dave Ring at DR Player Development. The intern is somewhere. The studio is getting completely gutted and full renovations while we are doing this podcast, so most of my life is spread out amorphously throughout this house while there's drilling and installing. And
there's a toaster in here.
Yeah, full. You can see kind of over Bodie's left side is one is three of my wedding gifts. Is a Le Creuset, a small blender, and an emulsifier or something.
I'm gonna bet that you don't use that very much.
The Dutch oven, yes, and the hand mixer. 50-50 Casey already blew it out making cookies.
Yeah,
she was trying to make too big of a batch. And
wedding gifts you use and then you store them. And they stay away forever.
I know where your wedding gifts are that you gave us, so that's nice. They are safely, securely stored. Let's talk about baseball instead of my wedding gifts because nobody cares about my wedding. Would also like to start with a retroactive before we get any further. We over the past week, we've had all the golf champions decided. Congrats to everybody there. We are headed into boys and girls lacrosse championships. I want to say, Casey, I'm sorry that you lost in overtime last night, but shout out to my wife making a semifinal. Very proud of you. Shout out to all the coaching spouses out there. You are an unsung group of heroes that help support a lot of people throughout San Diego high school sports. Guys, let's talk about baseball. Let's talk about the Division 5 race first. If you are looking for results from the past week, sorry, we don't have the bandwidth to talk about what has happened and what is going to happen. So we are going to start with just what is going to happen. These are all second round games because we're still in the double versus single elimination kind of transition. So let's just talk about these games, calling them the second round games. Second round in Division 5, we have number 1 Liberty Charter taking on number 4 St. Joseph. Liberty has looked good all season, I guess. They are the number 1 seed. Do we have any thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, in Division 5, at least, all the higher seeds held serve. Not a ton of surprise because with a lot of those lower seeds, they had to play 1 or 2 games moving up. And typically in the lower divisions, that just means less quality pitching and a lot of higher scoring games is what I've found so far. I mean, Vincent Memorial had a 13-run game and then they came back the next day and gave up 18 runs. So it's how it works with a lot of that when you don't have pitching and you're playing back to back to back.
So she has free reign today. She will find a spot eventually or not, and it'll all just be chaos, and this will be the worst podcast we've ever done. Okay, so let's talk about it this way then for D5. Top half of the bracket is Liberty Charter and St. Joseph, as well as Army Navy versus Calvin Christian. Right now, out of that, given that we will not meet up as a podcast again until after 2 more of these games, do we like Liberty Charter making it through this? Do we see either Army Navy or Calvin Christian coming out of that loser side of the bracket? Let's talk top half of this bracket, Bodie.
Yeah, I think for this one, I'm going to stick with the teams that don't have a loss yet.
You like chalk here?
Yeah, for me, I do. At the bottom half, it's a little different because Lincoln's in there, and we'll
get to that bottom half.
But yeah, for Liberty Charter, I would expect them to keep it moving at this point.
Dave, any thoughts on that?
I'll take St. Joseph and Joe Romero. Joe Romero's having a hot season, man.
Get hot, stay hot.
Hitting, doing it all for them.
Well, and pitching like Bodie has stressed now a couple times is really big, exponentially bigger at the lower levels.
Yeah.
On the other side of that bracket, Lincoln, the 3 seed, they move on to play Coastal Academy after Lincoln beats Kearney. Kearney goes down to play Guajome Park. So Lincoln was somebody that you guys all talked about as being the team to look for because they are the large public school. They have the depth in numbers. They have the strength. Do we like Lincoln making it through here to play Liberty Charter and just this whole bracket is chalk? Or can Kearney, Coastal, and Guajome represent some element of an upset? Okay, fair enough, intern.
Yeah, I like Lincoln. They are the 3 seed, but in my mind, they're the favorite in this bracket. Kearney was a team who scored 14 runs in their opening game. They play Lincoln 2 days later, score 1 run. I think Lincoln just has overall depth at this point that a lot of this bracket doesn't have. So I expect Lincoln to go on the road and get a win tomorrow and keep it moving.
Kingsley, does Lincoln got that dog in him? Does Lincoln got that dog in him? Give me a bark. All right, I think Lincoln got that dog in him. Dave, your thoughts on you have also echoed kind of the same sentiment that Bodie has of liking Lincoln in this one. Yes, there is no changing from your Lincoln thought. You can't have access to that microphone, apparently. Hey.
No. Yeah,
Favorite person's
Lincoln.
here.
I think they're hot right now, and they're going to roll through this bracket for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. No other thoughts. I'm assuming we can move on to D4.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to Division 4. Would like to give a shout out to the other Simons coach still out there, Cole Simons, getting a huge dub for Bishops as they flexed in that first game. They are the 1 seed. Top half of this bracket, Bishops now plays Holtville in what I think is a pretty interesting game because Holtville actually received some others to consider for top 10 voting this year. Bishops never really did.
And computer-wise, with different rankings, I know Holtville would have been higher than a 4 seed, but with the power rankings that were used, that's where they were. So I think this will be competitive.
This, if this was, this isn't able to be a preview of a championship game, but does this feel like the championship game? Are we at the point where we say winner of Bishops Holtville goes on to take this? Or is it still a little too early and you need to see a little more?
For me, it's too early. I did predict Bishops to win this division, but I think Calexico is really strong. They put up 16 runs last night. We'll get to them on the other side of the bracket. But, if Bishops can get by Holtville tomorrow, I feel really good about them at minimum making it to the finals.
Okay, Dave, your thoughts on the top half of this bracket with Bishops versus Holtville and then Valley Center, El Cap?
I still like Bishops. I think they've got a strong squad. I think with the competition that they've played this year, they're poised to really, I think, go far in this bracket. We'll see how that goes, but their strength of schedule should help them in this for sure.
Bottom half of this bracket, we've got Monta Vista, the upset seed.
Yeah.
Monta Vista gets an upset over Imperial. They are taking on Calexico, who is now the highest seed on this half of the bracket. Imperial and Central Union. So between Calexico, Imperial, Central Union, most likely someone from the inland part of this county will make it to the finals. But Monta Vista also a little bit of a sweetheart. I don't know, 6 isn't the lowest of the seeds moving on, but it's a solid win for them. So is Monta Vista now showing you guys what they like? Did that first win set them up, or what are we thinking here on the bottom half of this bracket?
First, I'll give my shout out to Palo Verde. They were the winners last season in Division 5, moved up, much like they have in football with their back-to-back. So unfortunately, they lost that play-in game. But yeah, at this point, I really like Calexico. I am very interested in all the divisions of how coaches have maneuvered their rotations this week. Most teams had a week off. You can kind of reorder it the way you wanted. And a lot of teams used their number 2 or number 3 guys in the opener. So I still like Calexico before the brackets were started. I liked Bishops over Calexico, and so far I still feel pretty good about that.
Dave, your thoughts, Monta Vista versus Calexico and Imperial Central Union?
I'm going to have to take Monta Vista here. I think Monta Vista for the last couple of years has been strong enough to kind of keep coming back and do damage in this bracket. So I'm going to take Monta Vista here.
Resilient is the word you're using.
And for Monta Vista, maybe they spend the night out there. They're out there at Imperial and now got to come home and then got to go back out to got to go back out to Calexico. So they'll enjoy their bus rides.
I don't know if that's possible. I know that. All right, well, let's put this on the poll at SD Prep Insider on Twitter, on Instagram is where you can always find our polls. We'll put the poll, is half the fun getting there?
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Into the D3 bracket we go.
If you win, it's more about the bus ride home. Then
that's why I'm saying the getting there part. Second question home is the bus ride home after a loss even worth it? On to D3. Maranatha Christian, the 1 seed, holds serve, does not get upset by Valhalla. They will now take on Brawley. Valhalla and Mira Mesa will square off in the other half, or in the other part of this top half of the bracket. So Maranatha, going into the playoffs, we're like, hey, we've seen kind of 2 versions of them. We've seen the hyped up, they were out of control, freight train at the beginning of the season. Then they got, a little pushback by open division opponents. Who are we going to get here? We got the better version of the Maranatha. I'm assuming we're going to kind of say the same thing as Bishops, like they're just a little notch above everyone else in this bracket still.
Yeah, I think they've kind of been waiting for this year. Last year they were the 10th seed. I'd kind of picked them as a surprise to make a run. They got tripped up late by Olympian. But yeah, opening with that 7-2 victory over Valhalla, I just think Maranatha has enough. Certainly, they have enough depth with hitting, and I think they have more pitching than the rest of this bracket. They're going to get to play all these games at home as long as they keep playing. They certainly know how to hit the ball all over there with some short porches in different areas and showing off a lot of power. So I like Maranatha to keep it up. Mira Mesa, though, you got to give credit to them as the 12 seed to win that opener just to get into the double elimination round. And I think they've got a decent chance to beat Valhalla and keep their season alive.
Maranatha with 4 players in the top 25 in home run totals this year. I mean, that's pretty impressive. They got Lucas Dawson. Everyone knows who the leader, Nico Newhan. They've got Joey Wittig and Levi Ham, man. I mean, these guys, that's 4 hitters that can do damage. It's hard to get through that lineup. I just don't see pitching in this bracket being able to get through that lineup. So, my opinion, Maranatha is going to run this.
All right, let's talk about the bottom half of this bracket. We've got El Camino playing.
It'll be Vista.
Okay,
yeah,
El Camino Vista.
That was a late one report. It was Vista 8-4.
Okay, so El Camino plays Vista. Oceanside plays Fallbrook. Vista is the highest of those seeds. Yep. Oceanside is somebody that we have talked about off and on. They are the 6th, but I'm assuming at this point we like Vista.
Yeah, Oceanside was actually up 4-1 in that game against Vista yesterday, and Vista made that comeback. I'm really looking at El Camino here to get in. I think they were better than that 7 seed. They proved that by winning the play-in game. They proved that again by going and winning at Fallbrook yesterday. So at this point, I've kind of changed how I look at that, and I like El Camino to get past Vista in this next one.
Dave, your quick thoughts before we wrap up on D3 and head to D2.
For some reason, I'm going to take Vista in this round. I think, like I said earlier, their strength of schedule is gonna help them in this game. I'm going to take Vista.
All right, let's move on to the Division 2 bracket, a.k.a. proof that we pay attention.
And chaos in D2.
Whoop, whoop. Del Norte, the 9 seed, beats Montgomery, so they are into this.
Yeah, 1-0.
Sage Creek, the 12 seed.
You mean Buntgomery?
Montgomery, deal. Sage Creek, Ryan Madsen.
I just thought of that yesterday,
and
by
them
the way.
boys. We know what we're talking about.
That's an impressive win for Del Norte, though, to shut down Montgomery.
Yeah, but that's not even the lowest seed to win. I'm on to the 12 seed. Let me talk about my bros. All right, yeah, no. Del Norte, that's a huge win.
Yeah, I wonder if when Del Norte had to play their elimination round game against Santa Fe on Tuesday, if they thought they'd have a home game come Friday.
Right?
Yeah.
Big dub.
Big dub for getting a 9 seed. Should the 9 seed ever expect we'll put that on the poll. Should the 9 seed ever expect a home game in the
they only
playoffs?
had a home game to start with because they won the league.
Yeah. So Del Norte, the 9, Sage Creek, the 12, they are in the undefeated side of this bracket. Montgomery and Christian, both top 10 teams at some point this year, are in the loser side. So I am saying that this is like bizarro upside down world, but at the same time, we've also talked about Del Norte and Sage Creek both being good baseball teams. So I have no reason to doubt that Del Norte and Sage Creek, one of those two, will move on out of this half of the bracket. Bodie, your thoughts, though?
Yeah, when the brackets came out, I picked Montgomery over Mission Hills, which looks absolutely terrible right now. The 2 teams I picked in the final were both shut out yesterday. So, between Del Norte and Sage, it's really tough to pick between them right now. I will go with Del Norte just because Sage has had to play. It'll be their 4th game in 5 days, and with pitching and limits that way, I think Del Norte is better suited to come out alive in that game tomorrow. But you can't count out Montgomery and Christian. They've both been in the top. They were both in the top 10 to start. They've been in it throughout. They've got Division I guys in that lineup on the mound. So whoever advances between Del Norte and Sage, you better be ready, because Montgomery and Christian are going to keep fighting to keep their seasons alive.
Dave?
I like Del Norte here. It seems like ever since Cole Hoffman, the transfer, got in that middle of the lineup, for them, they took off one league. Like you said, I think having a big middle of the lineup presence is huge, especially when you've got Addison Klepish and guys that are, really good leaders, young players, but good leaders right now. And I see Del Norte doing really well, beating Sage Creek here, going to play Montgomery in the next round.
Other side of this bracket, Rancho Buena Vista, a 6 seed, continues to move on. Congrats to River Scott and that whole squad representing kind of well. They will take on Cathedral Catholic, and then Mission Hills will take on Scripps. RBV, as we know, kind of has the ace out of this. So when that's a win, but curious to see what they can do without him and if they can maintain that. What do we think? What do we see here?
Yeah, River Scott pitched in their elimination round game on Tuesday, I believe.
That was the save the ace.
Yeah. Which, look, you got to keep your season alive, and it worked out getting past the 3. Cathedral and RBV actually played, I think it was game 1 or 2 to start the year, so there's some familiarity there. The way Cathedral's been going, though, I've had them up to number 6 in my rankings. They came off a sweep of Saints last week. They beat Scripps handily.
Yeah, we got that one super wrong.
So
we did the whole show based off of the premise that Saints was going to win one game so that we could have that open division D1 split. I'm like, whoops.
So yeah, at this point, with Cathedral having a home game, having more depth of pitching, I think Rancho Buena Vista, I don't think this will be a blowout, but I do like Cathedral to move on to next week's round, and RBV, I think, will have to come back Saturday.
All right, Dave, close us out on this D2 bracket.
Yeah, Cody Nidowitz and Cole Thompson, they combined for 6 hits, 7 RBIs, and 3 home runs against Scripps Ranch yesterday.
Yeah, that seems good.
Max Bales had another quality start for Max Bales. I mean, he's their ace. We know that. We knew that from the beginning. Cathedral's going to run it on RBV here, and I do like Scripps Ranch to kind of be scrappy in this. They've got a lot of seniors that I really like. They're meshing very well together. They do not let teams normally beat them 12-4, so I don't think that's going to happen again. I take Scripps Ranch in the next bracket there.
Let's move on then to the Division I bracket. As I pull it up here, we've got Santana taking on San Marcos, Bonita Vista, Point Loma. So Santana, San Marcos are in the undefeated half. Bonita Vista, Point Loma are fighting for their lives. Santana is the 1 seed. I am obviously all in on burn the boats, no coming back on San Marcos being my pick for this, but I'm assuming that you guys are going to say that between Santana and San Marcos, you see somebody moving out of that, not Bonita Vista, Point Loma. Your thoughts on the top half of the D1 bracket?
Yeah, I like San Marcos here. Before the bracket started, I picked San Marcos to reach all the way to the finals. And I think they're just playing well at the right time of the year. They were in a very difficult league. They put some games together at the end, took 2 of 3 from Carlsbad. I think they took a game from just about it. I mean, they beat La Costa last week. So it shows kind of what they're capable of. That lineup's good. The pitching's starting to come around. So I like them to beat Santana. On the other side, I like Point Loma over Bonita Vista. Point Loma's just got enough depth over throughout all of it right now. The lineup, the pitching, they got a couple transfers eligible that are hitting the ball well. So I like San Marcos to win tomorrow's game and then force a Santana Point Loma elimination game.
Dave, talk to me about this group of teams.
I got San Marcos in the big time.
We got to find other Randy Savage quotes. What else can we do?
I heard that has been going around the school like wildfire. All right, yeah, I think San Marcos is just too hot right now. I'm going to take them, and I definitely like Point Loma out of the bottom half of the bracket with Frankie G coming out and just swinging the barrel. I think these last few games here are going to be – they're just going to come down to who hits the best, and I like Point Loma coming out of that side of the bracket.
It's you kind of got to kind of hunch the shoulders up and go, I'm San Marcos. I'm looking for a challenge here. Where's Santana? I'm coming for you, Sultans. Yeah, that's what you got to do. You gotta
Yes.
walk around that. Yeah. We will ride that joke. That'll be a joke for years beyond any of the guys on this.
Legit.
I need you. Well, next week, if they make it to the finals, Dave, I need you to bring back your Tatis sunglasses.
100%.
And I'll find a hat.
And you will
and
wear them this time.
Yeah, and I'll get one of my wife beaters, tank
and you
tops.
rip it like Hogan style. Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's done. That's
You know what I found a couple days ago in doing laundry that I got a kick out of was a shirt that said "Not Your Father's Lions Tournament." That I feel like was from like a when we were doing it back at
that's
your
hilarious.
shirt that when we just hand wrote it on there. So
that's
yeah,
hilarious.
I'm down to get back into character. Other half of this Division I championship bracket though, Poway versus Patrick Henry in the undefeated part. Helix and Westview fighting for their lives. Poway, to me, feels like the most likely to come out of this side of the bracket. But okay, so that's where.
Yeah.
Bodie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Patrick Henry too. I have them winning the whole bracket here. 1-0 yesterday over Westview. Shout out to Helix and Westview, 2 double-digit seeds that had to play in that play-in game, kept their season alive. Now they get the double elimination format. But I like Patrick Henry. They didn't pitch Talon Gardini yesterday, so I believe they'll have him lined up here for Poway on Friday. I really like Patrick Henry. They got hot at the right time of the year. They ended up sharing that Western League title with Cathedral, and I think this is a team that's kind of rounding into form. Had some disappointments early on. They were a team, I believe, started the year 6th in my rankings, but they're starting to come around, and I think this is the right time for them to make their move.
Dave, your thoughts?
I do think Poway has a chance, but like you said, Patrick Henry's they've shown that they can beat teams that are hot right now, like Cathedral. I mean, they've definitely impressed me with the depth that they have and the hitting that they have. So I'm going to take Patrick Henry on this side of the bracket, and then I'm going to go back and take Westview also. So me and Bodie are on the same page.
Fair enough. Let's all take a moment to appreciate that the intern is now just playing catch with herself and is throwing her own ball. They are becoming self-aware. Into the open division we go.
Sweet.
Intruder.
Was that a ring at the doorbell?
Let's do this.
Not to me.
No,
But I don't have the hearing.
because I have the headphones on, so I can't hear anything other than
I don't
your
have the
noise.
hearing
it was
of a
not a
dog.
ring.
Okay, deal. Kingsley, you good?
She's excited
All
for
right.
that open
Intern
division.
Yeah, hell yeah. LCC. Woo, 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 woo. The number 1 seed defending champs, they are on to take on Torrey Pines. St. Augustine and Carlsbad are going to fight it out for the consolidation or losers half of that. However, I hate using the word winners and losers, but LCC,
Elimination
Torrey,
game,
yeah,
yeah.
perfect. LCC, Torrey Pines are in the undefeated part. Saints and Carlsbad. I mean, LCC, I guess at this point, they're in the number 1 seed. They've won a playoff game. I would be stupid as a pundit to not go with the defending champs here to make it out.
Yeah, and last year they made it hard on themselves. They lost the opener to Madison and then had to win 5 in a row to win the whole thing. Yesterday they get it done in 8 innings. A really tough one for Saints. I was at this one. Calvin Shaw from St. Augustine, got to give a game ball to him. 7 innings, struck out 5 guys. A controversial call at home plate would have won it for Saints. Instead it ties it for LaCosta there in the 7th inning. LaCosta wins it on an error in the 8th inning there. So, but these 4 open division games, 3 walk-offs, and the other was 3-1. So it just shows how competitive it is. We'll get to the other side of the bracket there. In the Torrey Pines Carlsbad game, 2-1, 3 solo home runs. Jet Kennedy showing off the power he has all year. Peyton Rogers ties it up, and then Aiden Stroot winning it with a walk-off home run for Torrey Pines.
We'll put it on the poll at SD Prep Insider on Twitter. Stroot. We'll put 2 things on the poll. At SD Prep Insider, number 1 is LCC baseball making it way too easy for themselves by winning in the playoffs. Number 2, I am Stroot. Dave, your thoughts on the top half of this bracket?
Really like how Torrey came out and just played their butts off. I mean, I think, anytime you can give a ball to Peyton Rogers and give him a chance, he gets another chance to pitch, and Torrey's going to win. So at this point, I like Torrey winning a few games, and I like Carlsbad coming out of that other side of the bracket. I just think Torrey has played so many games this year where they don't allow any runs.
Well, and close game, they've played Carlsbad 5 times now, and each time they've won by 1 run, which just brutal for one side and glorious for
and I
the
think
other.
that's like you said, that's part of my reasoning on going with Torrey in this part of the bracket is just because of how resilient they've been in those one-run games, and Lacoste is the same, but I do see some edging here. So I don't know. I think this is going to come down to the wire here, but I like Torrey Pines and Carlsbad.
Let's move on to the other side. Eastlake takes on Rancho Bernardo in what is going to be a fantastic game.
Oh, yeah.
Love the open division because it gives us brand names no matter what. There's nobody sneaking into baseball open division here in San Diego high school sports. So Eastlake RB in the undefeated half of this bracket. Granite Hills and Country Day fighting for their lives in the elimination game. RB is the 2 seed and kind of, I guess, by a hair the favorite in this one, but could see this one going either way. Is this Takeuchi is going to win? I am curious how you guys see this because I sort of said, well, Poway's going to sneak through, and you said, pump your brakes. I've got a different plan. So we might see this different, might see this the same. Curious, Bodie.
Yeah, I went chalk when this started, picking Lacoste over RB. I just think those two teams are playing the best ball at the right time. But when you look through yesterday's results and how teams line up their pitching, I do like Rancho Bernardo in this next game against Eastlake. They were able to save Tyler Arnold, usually their number one pitcher, so they'll have him going against Eastlake. But Eastlake, too, that lineup with transfers, getting guys healthy, it seems like everyone 1 through 9 is a threat right now. I mean, Daniel Mora gets on base half the time this year, and he has 31 stolen bases. So RB better be careful there. And depending how the wind's blowing, this could be high scoring there. And shout out to La Jolla Country Day yesterday, getting that 2-2 to the final inning. Rancho Bernardo finally prevails there. But Country Day, this is the highest seeding they've ever been in open. They're going to get a chance against Granite Hills, but that's another tough ask. So I do like Rancho Bernardo, and then we'll see from there if there's a Eastlake Granite rematch.
I think Takeuchi is the leader in the state for home runs. I think that's
one behind, I believe.
One behind?
Yeah.
So,
but he's only hitting
very,
520. So
very impressive that.
But
we're looking at that at this point
because we're all trailing Sofia Mujica.
Yeah,
we are all trailing Sofia.
That's very true. Yeah, I like Rancho Bernardo in this bracket. I think they had a nice walk-off win yesterday. That's going to give them momentum in this game. And Granite Hills, man, they've just been kind of.
Have they been rock solid?
They've just been kind of in the shadows this year, just kind of waiting to pounce. I think Granite Hills is going to come out of that side of the bracket fierce. Looking good, man.
So you're saying James Davis is Moses in exile right now, ready to come back and lead the Eagles to the promised land?
I think so.
We will avoid putting that on the poll for the sake of not wanting to cross religious bounds. But I would like to throw that would be maybe the other one that would get questions about is our sanity okay? Is if we say is James Davis Moses in exile right now, wandering the wasteland?
Yeah, you get some responses to that poll.
Well, you know what? Let's throw that on the poll also. Is James Davis Moses wandering in exile, waiting for his opportunity right now? Anything else, guys, on the baseball playoffs that we got to get to right now? Because we have ostensibly talked about all the teams, all the games, all the matchups. And for anything else, we will say scorebooklive.com or the SB Live Sports app. Follow Dave and Bodie on Twitter. We will have all their info, at this point.
And go catch a game, whether it's Friday, Saturday mornings, another great time to catch a game. And it's looking through all the brackets. I mean, a couple of these with the chaos of double-digit seeds coming through, and love when my predictions are blown up.
I just love predictions in general. Yeah, it's all good.
Bracket buster.
Bracket buster. All right, we got to go find where found the intern. All right. Talk to you guys next week.